Hello, this is the Facebook Ofsted Live. So I'm here in the office with Wendy, Caroline, and Sam. Come in, Sam, come in. She'll be joining us in a minute. So you might have seen me at an event or us at an event. We're going to a few events. We've got the Childcare Expo at the end of this week, and then we're going to the Nursery Managers Show. So if you want to come along and say hello to us, please do. We always like to meet our followers on Facebook and our really important early years colleagues, because as you know, we get out and about a lot. We are always asked lots of questions, and we are here today to answer as many questions as we can. So please, we've already had loads in, so thanks for that. But if you want to put some more under the post on Facebook, I can make sure the team can answer them if we have time. So I'm going to step out now and let you talk to the team.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kate. So let's just do some introductions, shall we? So my name is Wendy Ratcliff. I'm one of His Majesty's Inspectors, and I'm also Ofsted's Principal for our Early Education Policy. And Sam, let me hand over to you.
Thanks, Wendy. I'm Sam Sleeman-Boss. You can't see me. I'm an Early Years Inspector, and I work in the Early Education Policy team as Quality and Practice Lead. And fun fact about me is I started my career in early years as a childminder.
Brilliant, thanks Sam. And Caroline, I'm going to hand to you, but we both have spent some time working as nannies, haven't we?
We have indeed, Wendy. Yeah, we were just talking about that. Really interesting career journeys in. So Caroline Hearn, I'm the Specialist Advisor for our Early Years Regulatory Policy, so all the regulatory policy around childminding. So yeah, great to get the chance to come and chat to you all today.
It's really good because you've got Caroline's here who can answer questions around registration, regulation, and then Sam and I have been very heavily involved in writing the renewed framework that's going to come into place from November. So let's start with some questions that we've had in already. So Sam, we had a question earlier from Kirsty, and why do inspectors vary so much with what they expect and how they inspect? As a childminder, the way I implement some of the things and carry stuff out is very different to a preschool or nursery environment, and it definitely will be, won't it, Sam?
Yeah, so that is a great question. And now renewed EIF is really clear on how inspectors should consider different provision types and different ages of children as well. So, for example, when evaluating curriculum and teaching in childminder settings, there is an expectation that inspectors recognise that while childminders must meet the same learning and development requirements of the EYFS as group providers, they're likely to work differently from group providers to achieve the same curriculum aims. So we are really clear in our toolkit and in our operating guide about what we expect from inspectors.
And I'm wondering whether, Kate, at some point we can put the QR code into the chat for people, because that's how you can then access all those new documents that we've published that link to the renewed inspection framework. Okay, Caroline, let's ask you a question, and I think this one has come from Claire. Can I work as a childminder and as a childcare on domestic premises? Do I need to register twice?
Oh, good question, Claire. So yes, the answer there is yes, you can hold 2 registrations with Ofsted or with a childminder agency. What you can't do is have a registration with a childminder agency and Ofsted, so you need to decide if it would be Ofsted or a childminder agency. That's just because you come under one regulator. But you can have 2 registrations with Ofsted, so you could register as a childminder, but then you could also register as a childcare on domestic premises. We'll put something in the chat or on the Facebook page that sort of signposts you to how to break those registrations down and understand the kind of pros and cons of both, because it'll be really unique to the individual about what suits them and what they need, and the mix of childcare, the mix of adults, it will all come together. So we've got some really useful guides online, which we will post after this.
Brilliant, thank you, Caroline. And let's ask another one around assistance that we got from Jane. So Jane's asked, can I work with someone else's assistant?
Oh, good question, Jane. So the EYFS states in requirement 3.14, I'll name them to make that easier for you. Childminders and any assistants must be cleared as suitable by Ofsted or the childminder agency via the suitability letter before they can be included in the child staff ratios. You can work with someone else's assistant, and if they are known to Ofsted, you can notify Ofsted that you'll be working with them. And if they've already been deemed suitable, they'll not need to repeat checks, and we will write to you with their letter of suitability. It's that letter of suitability you need to watch out for, but yes, there is definitely flex there, Claire.
Brilliant, thank you. And I can just see that Sharon's put a question in the on the page actually around the 6-year windows, and as a childminder we normally would be inspected, you'd be inspected within that 6-year window, and you'll know that we've been asked by the DfE to move towards 4 years, and what does that mean for your next inspection? So Sam, did you want to answer that, or should I?
We'll do a
Double act.
Yeah.
Go on then.
So obviously we will be changing to a 4-year window from April 2026, but there will be a period of transition, won't there, Wendy?
Definitely. And one of the things, we've been doing some webinars. Last week, actually, we did webinars, and we had around over 6,000 people join a live event. And anyway, that question came up a lot. So one of the things that we suggested is that we should look to put a blog together with some of that information. So when we've done the workings out of how we're going to move from 6 years to 4 years, then we'll publish a blog so that we can provide you with that information. Okay, let's have a look at another question that's come in beforehand, and Fazana, this one has come from, I think. One around university. Jane, do I need to tell you if my child, Caroline, sorry, do I need to tell you if my child has gone back to university? Who you are.
End of the day, you all know what that's
It's been a
like.
long day.
So, Fazana, firstly, congratulations, your child's heading off to university. What an exciting time for you. Ofsted is legally required to determine the suitability of all people working or living in the household who are aged over 16 years. And we need to check those over 16, even if they only live there for some of the time. For example, if they're studying at university but come back during the holidays, because yes, they do come back, Fazana. You get them out the door and back they come. For example, if they're studying at university but come back during the holidays, sorry, I'm repeating myself there. So it's set out in our guidance entitled People Connected with Ofsted Registered Childcare. And again, we can put this link into where that is. If they have been suitably checked and deemed suitable, you do not have to notify us that they've left the premises and come back. So you don't need to tell us every time they come and go. Once that individual is cleared and you've got the cleared letter, then that's fine. Yes, just wait for all the washing at the end of term.
Very good. Okay, so a question that came in before from Andrea that Andrea submitted for us, so thank you for that. And this is the 5 grades have been renamed as urgent improvement, needs attention, expected standard, strong standard, and the new highest grade of exceptional. Which grades would no longer mean that childminders are able to access early years funding, and what would the timescales be between inspection and the next, where it would be the first opportunity to get a new grade and access funding again? Sam, do you want to pick up on that one?
Yeah, so the DfE haven't announced yet the grades that might impact on early years funding, so we don't know this yet. But we can tell you that if a setting has any evaluation areas graded urgent improvement, or if safeguarding isn't met, then we will normally re-inspect within 6 months. And if the lowest grade is needs attention, then we will normally re-inspect within 12 months. So where settings are meeting expected standards or above in all evaluation areas and safeguarding standards are met, we will inspect within the usual inspection window, which is currently 6 years.
Thanks, Sam. I think we've still got some questions coming in about the 4-year, moving to that 4-year window. And I think, what we will do is that, as I say, we will, as we've worked some of that through, we've published that information so it's really clear for you. But we won't move towards that or start to move towards the 4 years until April next year.
But yeah, there's a question there I can see from Beverly. It's really linked to that issue about first inspection, because first inspections are changing as well. So good point, Beverly. I can see you're asking, you know, when you were registered, and will you then get your first inspection within 12 months or under the current structure? As Wendy said, they're both sort of interlinked, but watch our socials, because we will update you and tell you when those dates are. So it'll be really clear. You'll know which date you were registered from and when you're likely to we'd like to pop out and see you. So,
yeah, and we'll definitely put it on the Facebook page, or we'll get Kate to help us put it on the Facebook page.
Definitely.
We're moving to 18 months, not 12 months.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes,
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so another one that's just come in. Are you still doing learning walks? That is definitely one for you, Sam.
That's a good question. So we won't be doing learning walks under the renewed framework, and that's because we will be having a planning call with childminders ahead of the inspection, and that's where we'll find out lots about the context of your setting. It will be about a half an hour call where we will want to know about the children that come to your setting, know about you and any assistance that you might have, any challenges that you might have, anything you know about the local area. We will want to know what you want children to know and be able to do, what you believe are your strengths and what areas you're actually working on, what you're developing. So we won't need to do a learning walk when we come out for your inspection.
Or a learning sit.
A learning sit in Childminders, that's all right.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Caroline, one for you. Can I go over the ratio for 2-year-olds if I want to take on twins? And that's coming from Sue.
Oh, hi, Sue. We're busy with twins. We've published a blog on childcare ratios, and it's been really well received. And lots of people have been reading that blog, so that's great. But we will remind you of where it is and put it back up. It will answer most of the questions like this one. There are some exceptions where you can exceed the ratios, like this with twins. However, you must maintain the quality and care and the safety and security of the children. Just because you can do this doesn't mean you should. And what's right for one childminder might not be right for another, when taking into consideration the needs of the children in your care, because children are unique. So one group of twins is very different to another group of twins. So if it works for you, you can. And we'd ask you when we come out, you know, to demonstrate how you make that work, as we do with everything. You know, what you're doing for the children, and we'd be exploring that through our work. So yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you. We've got another one here, and it links again to the renewed the grades, the 5 grades that are in the renewed framework. What will be the main changes if exemplary does not equal outstanding? How can childminders show that they have not been downgraded? Sam, I'll give you that one.
That's a really good question, and I think
one pick, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to take time. We really do need to see this change in framework to be a reset. So, outstanding and exceptional are not the same, and it will be about us all understanding that. We anticipate that the majority of settings will fall within the middle 3 grades. That's needs attention, expected standard and strong standard. We'll have a mix of those, and that will be the norm. So once that starts happening, and that is the norm, then you know there won't be this expectation that or this viewpoint that settings have been downgraded in any way.
Yeah, absolutely. And what the toolkit and those evaluation areas will help us to be able to do is actually, you know, highlight, celebrate what you're doing. It will validate your practice, and then highlight if there's things that need to be improved. So it, you know, lots of ways of highlighting that, you know, those strengths that you've got in your setting and things that you might be working on.
Very much so. And you know, where settings and childminders know what it is that they're working on and have identified weaknesses for themselves, you know, that's where the validation comes in. We'll recognise that.
Absolutely. Okay. So another one I think that we've got that Caroline would be a good one for you has come in from Craig, and that's around safeguarding training. Does safeguarding training need to be face-to-face?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so the EYFS, the Department for Education, updated the EYFS and made some fairly big safeguarding changes in September. So if you haven't checked those out, please do. You really do need to have a look at that and be familiar with them. And there's also some podcasts and information to help you understand some of those changes. We can definitely signpost to those as well. But getting back to the question about the training, no, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't specify that in the EYFS. What it does say, you have all the criteria in Annex C. So as long as the course meets all the criteria in Annex C, it's about the quality of the content and the comprehension of the person receiving the training. Have you understood everything? Do you know how to effectively implement that in your setting? That's what we're looking for.
Brilliant, thank you, Caroline. Let's have a look at what other questions we've got come in. So Sarah has put, and that I think this is building on from the previous question about learning walks. If you don't find out enough in conversations, would you do a walk to see if you've missed anything?
Well, even in a walk, it's through discussion that we get the information. So the majority of our evidence gathering happens from the observations that we make of interactions between adults and children. And with this more collaborative approach, we'll be talking and reflecting with leaders throughout the inspection. So I don't think there'll be a time when we don't find out enough from our discussions with leaders and the observations that we make.
Brilliant, thank you for that one. Laura's asked a question around first aid and running a wraparound care with the youngest children being children in reception. Do all staff need first aid? Again, that's an EYFS question, isn't it?
It is. So for wraparound providers, you'll know there are elements of the EYFS that you don't have to deliver, and they're really clear. So that the manager, the level 3 manager, is not necessarily required. You do need to check the small print and check you meet that requirement. But the first aid requirements are there, and they don't change for you, so you do need to meet them. So it's making sure that there's someone there to call in an emergency, someone who can get there in the right time, be quickly on hand for children. But the other change that came in September is that there needs to be somebody in the room with the children with a first aid qualification while they're eating, and that's really important. And that's sat at the table with the children, engaging with them. That's no bad thing. Mealtime's a really social occasion. It's good to be there chatting with the children, but that person does need to be first aid qualified in the room with them, just so that they can quickly respond to emergencies. Sadly, we know things like choking incidents are really silent, so sitting at the table with the children, or wherever they're sat, it could be a picnic, doesn't have to be at a table, but sitting with the children so you can see them is really important.
That is really important, thank you, Caroline. And we've got a question from Joanne saying, you've emailed me to update my info. Does this mean you're going to inspect me soon? And I think, Sam, I don't know if you want to say anything about that, but we do from time to time do a cleanse of our information and just check in to see, whether childminders are minding, and just update the records that we've got. So,
and I think it's done in batches, but I think there might be a myth out there.
Yeah,
there is, yeah.
That if they do get emailed, then that means their inspection's coming.
Yeah, but let's bust that myth then. Okay. What else have we got coming in here?
There's a question here about looking at folders.
Oh. Will inspectors look at my summary folder?
I saw the full question come through, and I think that there's a valid point that people make about remembering what it is that they want to tell us.
Yeah.
I think that's something that we need to consider. Obviously, we want you to be as comfortable as you can be, and we want to get the best out of you on inspection. So if you need to refer to any documentation or any folders that you've prepared, then that's totally up to you. But I certainly wouldn't want to look through folders. I want to talk, I want to observe, but by all means, if you want to look at something to help you, that's absolutely fine.
Yeah, because inspection is not a memory test, is it?
No.
Okay.
I can see a question here that I will pick up, because it sort of feeds back to the eating point that I just made. So somebody saying that somebody's been marked down because they were having a picnic and not sat at a table. Can't comment on the individual scenario. That person definitely needs to take that up if they feel that was all it was. But we're not saying children can't go on picnics. It's a really rich learning environment. They need to be out doing things. You can be sat on the floor at a picnic. They can be sat in a really stable way and eating and fine. So yeah, please don't stop having picnics with children. That's really important.
Brilliant. Okay, and one's just come in there around being advised to change legal status from sole trader to limited company. This is one for you again, Caroline. I know I have to re-register. Would I still have a registration visit, etc., if everything else is the same and will be running exactly the same?
Yeah, so that's an interesting one. If you've changed from a sole trader to a limited company, it is a new registration. That said, we would already have all the information about you and your household members, but if you're a childminder, you can only register as a sole trader and not a limited company. So I'm not sure if we've got somebody else on the call who's running something different, maybe childcare and domestic. That could be a limited company, but childminders can only register with us as sole traders. Doesn't mean you can't have a limited company that you run to run your business through, but your registration would be directly with us, because that's the only way legislatively we're allowed to do that. When you do change, so getting back to the question, make sure I actually answer the question. When you do change from a sole trader to a limited company, it is a new registration, so it's a visit. We likely know people involved in your registration because they're probably the same people that were on your sole trader registration, so checks can be a bit quicker depending on the age of the check, but it is a new visit because you're doing something different, so we come and chat to you about that.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, so we have a question around if, as a provider, you highlight an area during the phone call with the inspector, will the inspector focus on this, and how to ensure that self-identified weaknesses are treated fairly? I think that's a really interesting one, Sam.
It's a good question. Will we focus on it? That depends. So it might be an area of inspection focus, because we do want to look at what your strengths are and what you've identified as needing to improve. We'd want to see that you've been accurate in your own evaluation, and it's having the impact that you want it to have. And in terms of treating those self-identified weaknesses fairly, then I think, we need to be validating that you've identified that yourselves as providers and you're working on those things. So it's not about penalising settings where they've done that, but validating their own priorities. And obviously we do need to look at the impact that any weaknesses are having on children and how significant those are in our gradings.
Yeah, I think there's something else in that though, Sam, as well, isn't there? That, we want our inspections to look and feel different and be more collaborative. Yeah. So that planning call that you'll have with the inspector will talk about those things that Sam has said, what is it, what are your strengths, what are you working on? And together we'll agree the areas of inspection focus and the timetable for the inspection as well. Okay, let's have a look.
There's one here about ratios and confusion about ratios. So what I would say for that is the blog that we've published is really helpful. It really breaks down what can and can't happen with ratios. So we will definitely put that up for you to have a look at. Again, there's the ratios, what you can do, and then there's a mix of children sometimes means that you'd work with maybe fewer children because those children need more of your time, and that's right and proper. So just because we've got an upward number doesn't mean it's not a target. You don't have to hit that number. You're doing what's right for that group of children at any one time. But if you're still feeling you're seeing inconsistencies within that, you do need to let us know. But the blog should help, because then you've got a blog to say, but you've said here, and this is what I'm doing is in line with this blog, and of course in line with the EYFS.
Brilliant, thank you. I just saw something flash up about hand washing, and is it all right to have children at the table with a bowl of water rather than
touching their hands at the same?
Yeah.
There's reasons why you're doing what it is that you're doing. You'll be able to explain that to the inspector. We don't have a preferred method of hand washing. It just needs to be hygienic and in line with the EYFS.
Yeah.
Okay. Another one here around inspection. The inspection is different between nursery and childminding, or are they the same questions?
There's a misconception, I think, that we have set questions that we have to ask on inspection. And first of all, no two inspections are going to be the same, because no two settings are the same. No two sets of children are the same. No two sets of staff are the same. So it's our approach to inspection that it needs to be consistent. So in terms of questioning, that very much depends on the areas of inspection focus that we have for your inspection, you know, how conversations take us, you know, the discussions that we have, anything that emerges during the inspection. So we don't have a script, we don't have set questions. Yeah, so that I think that's another one of those misconceptions that might be out there.
Let's put that one straight. So Sophie's just asked the question, Caroline, around how long should I wait before sending another email to chase up a new certificate since moving house in May?
Oh, dear me, Sophie, that does sound a long time. I wouldn't know when you first let us know, etc. But yes, you should definitely, it wouldn't hurt to send another email now. Possible an email has gone astray there by the sound of that. That does seem a really long time. So maybe come back on that one and ask us again. Apologies that's taken that long, it really shouldn't.
Okay, we've got one here from Sabrina. I have a nursery and open till 3 p.m. I've now extended as an after school club, opening till 6 p.m. Do I need to register it separately or just amend my hours with Ofsted?
Good question. So if you've got, as long as your registration covers the ages of the children that you're caring for, you do need to let us know. So if there's changes to your hours of operation, let us know. But you could do all that under an early years registration. That's fine. Just let us know how that's happening, what you're doing, and how you're making all that work. Really, it's just useful for us to have that information.
Brilliant.
Need it.
We do need that information, don't we? Yeah,
but it's top of texture about your setting as well.
Okay, the questions are coming in thick and fast now, aren't they?
There's lots about inspection changes, which dates, and we really, I've seen quite a few questions on that, and we really can't answer individual questions about, I was last inspected here and when am I going to be inspected again? Just do watch our socials and you'll be able to calculate it once that information comes out.
Brilliant. Okay. I think Sophie's just come back on that. So yeah, Sophie, it sounds like just send a follow-up email.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, please do.
Okay. Let's see if I can see some of these here.
There's so many coming. They've
gone down
on our screen.
Oh, so it's this.
Yeah.
Let's work out the technology.
While Wendy's scrolling through, what we also do is we've talked today about our blogs and our published information. The ideas for that come from yourselves. So if there's something that you would like to know more about from us, tell us and we can do a blog on it. We can do some information on it. We need to know what it is you want clarified, because then that helps steer that kind of communication and make sure that you're getting messages that are relevant to you and interesting to you and help inform you. You know, and a blog's a good way to quickly get information on a subject.
Brilliant, thank you. We've got one here from Becca around, if childminders visit each other so children can mix and socialise, do we need to notify Ofsted of who you visit and when? Our local authority says we have to email Ofsted if we regularly visit another childminder.
That comes down to regularly, and you're visiting, so you're checking and you're responsible for your children. You're not into a relationship where you're co-minding together or you're working together. There's a lot of collaboration, and childminders can be a lonely profession, so childminders coming together can be a really valuable time. No, we don't want to know every time two childminders meet up, because you're very sensible adults and you're making sure the children are safe and they're only around people who you know are vetted, and you're controlling, you're in charge of those children at that point. So yeah, you don't need to be telling us every visit you go on or every time children go out and meet other people. But if you then start working together and you're co-minding, then yes, we would need to know that.
Brilliant, thank you, Caroline. Sam, here's an inspection one. So somebody's expecting their first inspection anytime now. Have 3 children on roll, 1 under medical investigation for SEN, 1 with speech delay and a baby 1-year-old. They need me all of the time. How would it be able to have professional conversations with the inspector if I needed to be caring for the children at all times? That's really important, and that is your primary role, is to be there for looking after the children. But Sam, can you kind of unpick that one a little bit for us?
Can I just say thank you so much for taking some of our most vulnerable children and caring
for
those children, because you know you've got a difficult job being a childminder, and then on top of that you're taking, you know, children who need us the most, so thank you for that. So we will be flexible around you. we'll have that conversation during the planning call, and we are going to notify you within 5 working days of the inspection, and we're also going to tell you the day that we're coming, which is a change to childminder inspections. So because we're telling you the day that we're coming, we'll be able to hear from you what would be the best day for us to not only see what it's like to be one of those vulnerable children or vulnerable children at your setting, but do that in a balanced way, so that maybe, you know, we pick a quieter day, for example. So yeah, we're used to doing that.
Yeah.
We're used to working in this way, and we'll continue to do so.
And we'll work with you to do that. Okay. Karen's not long joined the call, so someone may have asked this already, Sam, and I think we have covered some of this already, but when do we have the 2 phone calls? What do we ask? I've read lots of questions. There's the QR code will help with that, won't it? But do you want to just say something about that?
So we will call before 10 a.m. in the morning, which is a change, because currently we call at lunchtime. It must be the busiest time of the day for childminders particularly. So we're going to now call and notify and have a very short phone call just before, any time before 10. And then we will arrange with you during that call when is an appropriate time to call for the planning call.
Brilliant. That's really helpful. Yeah, and as you say, that's one of the changes from November, isn't it? That we will be, when we call childminders, we will work with you to work out the best day to come and do and tell you when we're actually coming to do your inspection. Okay. So we've got a question from Chloe here. Currently working for the NHS. As regards to my references for when I apply to become a childminder, does it have to be a manager from work that does my professional reference, or can I have one of the parents of the children I look after, as they actually see me working with the children? However, the managers haven't, so I feel one of the parents would be more appropriate. Did you want to say something about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is a professional reference is what we look for. It's an employment reference. So employment references would normally come from your employer. So it would be probably the HR department from your work is probably where that reference would be best sourced from.
And Jessica has put in a question about safe sleep. This is an interesting one. I have sleep charts and perform regular checks on children when they're sleeping. Our children sleep upstairs. Is this acceptable? Safe sleep for childminders would be a great blog. As it's so different to nurseries. Thank you. I think that's a brilliant idea, Jess. Let's take that one.
Yeah, I'll take that one down. Good idea.
Yeah. And yes, it is acceptable for your children to be sleeping upstairs.
Yeah. It's just they're checked regularly and you're keeping an eye, which sounds like you very much are, given all that.
Yeah, okay. There's another question here from a childminder. As a childminder, I find to answer questions during the inspection, whilst I've got children present, they will always be your priority, of course they will. So you don't always feel that you answer questions to the best of your ability. In a group setting, answering questions away from children. So you do wish a childminder could do the questioning on a Zoom call instead of during a very busy day when you're supervising children.
We've been asked this a lot, haven't we? Particularly around safeguarding. But really it's those, we are working flexibly around you. It's in collaboration with you. And it's not that, inspectors shouldn't be sitting there, interviewing you, questioning you in that way. It's a discussion while you're working. So it shouldn't take you away from caring for the children, which should be your priority.
I think as well, Sam, inspectors are really skilled at knowing, when someone's a bit distracted or they're a bit nervous, you kind of come back at that question in a different way, give them a bit of a time and come back and say, oh, actually, could we look at it a different way? And it's not a quiz, it's not we want to get the best out of people, so if it means we reframe and give you a few minutes, then absolutely that's the right thing.
Give them absolutely about it.
And also if it's okay to ask to repeat the question if because if you're distracted or
also what do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. And actually also if you kind of like I don't know, half an hour later think, oh, I don't think I answered that as well as I could have done, then say so.
People say that a lot, actually. People say, can I come back and say, I don't think I got that really well. Can I come back? And absolutely you can. Yeah.
Definitely. We've got a question from Ali, who is registered on the early years register and the compulsory part of the childcare register, and that's because that's on your certificate. If a child turns 8, can I still have the child, Caroline?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
They're just outside of the age of, it's like if you're on the early years, if you're on the voluntary register, you don't have to be registered on the voluntary register, so it's the compulsory part would be once the child turns 8, you don't have to be registered to care for that child.
And Steph has put something in about new settings that are waiting their first inspection. Will you be inspected in 30 months or 18 months with the renewed framework? And again, as we say, will be moving towards the 18 months for first inspections and the 4-year window from April next year, but we will be putting some more information out about that as soon as we are able to.
Question from Jade there in respect of delays in registering provision. Just come out the summer season, it's always very busy. Lots of people want to get registered as childcare providers over the summer. Don't know why, that always seems to be a peak for us. I guess it's being ready for the September cohorts and intake. So yes, I'm not going to say it's not been a busy summer, it has. That said, when you apply to register, you should get a welcome phone call where someone calls you up and chats through your application, checks we've got everything that we're expecting to see, gives you a chance to chat to a human being and ask some questions, and during that call they would plan in a provisional date for your registration visit, so you'd know what we were working towards. So if checks take longer, which sometimes they do, that visit can get delayed. But Jade, I can see in your case that's not the case, so I would drop us up an email and just ask where that is at the moment then, if you're not sure.
Brilliant, thanks Caroline. Natasha has asked a question about toddlers sleeping in a lie-in flat pram. Some say no, but some children will only sleep in a pram in the day and really need that nap time. Sam, did you want to say?
That's a Caroline question.
Okay, we'll give it to Caroline. Sam's, yeah.
It's where a child is safe and has the space to move around. So you wouldn't want a child left sleeping in a car seat or in where they're restricted. But it's about how safe that place is for them to sleep. There's some really good links in the EYFS that take you out to really good sites with lots of I trust information, NHS information, really good sleep practices information in there. Have a look at those and look through that, and then think about what I'm doing and is it in line with all of these principles within here. So, and that's what the inspectors want to see when we come out, that you've read it all and you've thought about it and you've said, yeah, I've made an informed decision on everything I've read and this is the right thing for this child.
Oh, we've got another one that's going back to the calls. Are both calls going to be arranged on the same day in regards to the inspection visit and the planning phone call?
Ideally, they will be in the same day. With childminders, obviously, we're giving that notice up to 5 days. So if it wasn't possible to have a longer call on the day, then it might be possible to have it the following day or before the inspection. However, currently, we do have the notification call on the day that we call, and we do give the option to call back later if it's inconvenient. So I see no reason really why we wouldn't be having the call on the same day.
Yeah, that makes sense, Sam. Thank you. There's one there from Naomi.
Naomi, yes, I'm just reading Naomi's question. Yeah, absolutely. So Naomi, you're thinking of stepping into childminding. Well done. And you're wanting to work with your husband. You've got the level 3 qualification, and he's not qualified. If you read in the UFS, you actually don't need a qualification to be a childminder. You just need to know that you did demonstrate a knowledge and understanding of the UFS. So you need to demonstrate that you understand all the criteria within it. There is a little catch-all there that I say to people. That's just for the early years, the UFS. If you're registering on the later years registers to care for 5 to 8 year olds, and then the voluntary childcare register, there's some different requirements there. There's training their common core skills, or just again a training course that gives you the suitable knowledge to understand the general childcare register. So make sure you catch those differences across the registers. But yes, there's no requirement anymore for childminders to have a level 3. It's just that you can demonstrate that good knowledge and understanding.
And I think this other one here from Warrington Early Years is similar, with childminders who have a husband in this case who wants to register as their assistant, but they haven't worked with children before. Do they need to obtain a reference from their spouse? And if so, if it's not relevant from a relevant employer, is that acceptable?
I think it would be better to be somebody other than a spouse, a familial contact for a reference. We always look for that. If a previous employer isn't possible, somebody standing in with good standing who can supply that reference. There's some information on who that reference can be from, if you have a look at that. In terms of knowledge, you don't have to have worked with children before, but you do have to have a good knowledge of the early years foundation stage and understand how you're going to deliver that. So it might be that you don't have a formal qualification, but you might have had a course or had some coaching or done something. You're going to need to do something to have that knowledge in your head. It will just get there.
Yeah, thank you, Caroline. And Chloe just wants to go back to the references again. So Chloe's wanting to register. Could you use one of the managers and then one of the parents for a second reference? That sounds.
Yes.
Sounds sensible.
Yes. Sounds sensible. We don't always come out for both references. We're going through a phase of one being enough, but if we needed to, we could.
Okay. Sam, this one's for you. Do children have to have access to drinking water? They can get independently all day.
What does it say in the EYFS? So, from my memory, the EYFS says that children must have access to fresh drinking water. And therefore that does mean accessible, and how you make sure that's accessible is up to you.
Yeah, absolutely. There's another one about sleep there. Again, I would suggest have a look at the links in the EYFS. If children sleep on the sofa at home and wanted by a parent, is this okay? Again, it's around making sure children are safe when they're sleeping.
It is, and it's sometimes about challenging. If something's happening at home, doesn't mean it's necessarily the right thing. So the parent says, baby only ever sleeps in the car seat, have the car seat, here we go. That's not a good place for a baby to be sleeping. And that's where childminders can really use their professionalism and their expert knowledge to be able to say and to help those parents understand why that's not a good thing. So yeah, parental preference is absolutely, but not when it's not a good thing for the child.
Yeah, remember, this is your business. So it's really important that you communicate with parents what your policies and procedures are for caring for children in a safe way. And I saw mention of cushions and things there, and that wouldn't sound to me to be very safe. So you set the expectations for what you deliver at your setting, and parents make choices about whether they use your setting or another setting.
Brilliant, Sam. Some really helpful points there. Nicola's asking about the new report format and says it looks very user friendly. I know Kate's going to pop in a link to the YouTube page where we've got an example of a report. But Nicola's asking whether each section will be written individually by inspectors, or will they be pre-populated like the safeguarding section?
That's a great question. And as an inspector, I can tell you each individual section is going to be written by the inspector, apart from when safeguarding standards are met.
Thank you,
that
Sam.
section will be pre-populated.
At the moment, as a childminder, we can only leave assistance for 2 hours a day for the school drop-off, etc. Will this ever increase so that may be able to go to
training?
Training during the day or events. I think that's a DfE question for the DfE.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
because it's the EYFS, and obviously the EYFS is the DfE's document.
There was a previous question as well, which I'm very sad death of a child through choking. So I would just remind people to look at the EYFS. It's really strengthened up some of those points around choking and child deaths. I can't see who that comment was from, but it was specifically asking about LifeVac, which is a medical gadget. We don't have preferences. You'll have your first aid training it would be for the Department for Education to make a decision on a piece of kit if they felt it needed to be made compulsory, but we are not saying to go out and buy anything in particular. Anything you do buy, talk to your first aid trainer, and also consider the pros and cons of devices. It's personal choice at that point, and speaking to medical professionals. But yes, really, really awful when these things happen. So paying attention to some of those changes in EYFS to help prevent choking instances are really important. And we know it's not just, sadly, fruit that children choke on. So there's a lot of coverage about cutting up grapes, but actually recent child deaths have sadly been through things other than grapes. So just having that awareness. But yes, let's take it.
Okay.
I want to answer the question about the dog.
You want to answer the question about the dog?
Let's answer the
Okay.
question.
Okay. So
about the dog.
Emily's put in here, if my setting includes my lovable pet Labrador, lovely, on inspection, will Ofsted require him to stay? Or would it be okay to banish him for the day? He is like my 4th child, so I think my shoulders may drop to have him looked after that day. Thank you. Go on then, Sam. Go for it.
So when the inspector calls and asks if there's anything that they need to consider for the inspection, that's something that you can raise with them. I don't see why your pet dog would not be with you as they would you. We don't want you to do anything different for the day that we come. We want you to be as relaxed as possible. We want you to do what you would usually do, and we want to see typical practice. Because if things change, the children's behaviour will be different. You won't be delivering in the way that you usually do, and so don't do anything different for us.
Brilliant, thank you.
I think we might be at
Are we at time? Oh, we are. We are at time.
I think so.
Okay. So
We should turn the lights off around us.
the lights are fading in the building. Let's just hope somebody did tell them at security desk that we were staying late. We're here for the we were staying late. It's been really great to talk to you all. Thank you for posting your questions. Kate will follow up, I know, with some of those links for us, including that QR code. And if we haven't got to your question, then we will take those away and look to respond as soon as we can. So, thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good evening.
Thanks. Bye.